So I figured what better way to make my first YouTube video regarding the card game that I've come to really, really enjoy. What better day to do it than the day that Gundam drops its banned card and restricted card list for July 2026. I have seen some of these things, other people, posting about it or talking about it vaguely. I haven't read too much into it, but I'm not going to go over the whole ban list um, regarding all of the things they did. I'll touch on everything, but I'm not going to go too in depth into things. Specifically, there's two things that I think really, really, really stand out. Um, Anksha just being banned completely from decks and sideboards, I think is kind of weird. I know that their reasoning, they say that a high number of blue-purple decks are being played and make heavy use of the Anksha. I think that's basically because I they probably know better than I do. I would kind of disagree the ability to have the ability to deal damage to enemy units. It has to be rested. When I play blue purple, I see Anksha and I'm like, yeah, it can ping a rested unit. That's great if one's already rested, or if I have the ability to rest something that same turn with it, or if it. But I mostly see it as a 3/3. It's it can survive, close combat at least one. It can survive crashing into, Ilfrith or flat. It's to me, it's mostly a 3/3 body. I don't really care that it can only ping for one because it only pings a rested unit. So I think banning Anksha is kind of a weird move. But I think it's because it's in every blue purple deck. But I think again, that's because of it's a 3/3. The thing that I thought was kind of crazy was these pairs. So this pair is kind of nuts. Um, they're both 2/1, level 2 one cost, bodies, 1/2 bodies that ping for one. Again, they're only pinging one damage to a rested unit. Um, I get that in mass, these things can be kind of annoying and be detrimental. I understand that. But I think this is a weird pairing to say um, this can no longer be together. Uh, I think that a lot that Anksha in this pair banning is specifically because people are a lot of blue purple decks are running that, and what they're trying to take it out at the knee, so to speak. The big one is this. This is huge. Amuro Ray and Mikazuki being pair banned. That's huge. That essentially kills blue purple. Blurple is I'm calling it now. I think Blurple is going to die as a they're essentially cutting it off at the waist. Amuro Ray is so important in a blue purple deck. A, because of the rest, but B, when he gets paired with Grandpa, everything gets a +1. So now your 2/2 drops are 3/2 drops. And so on and so forth. Mikazuki is huge because not only can you ping yourself, but you ping one other that's not rested. So you throw this on like a first form, you know, now you're a bigger body. You're still only 2 HP because you ping yourself to be able to get the draw on the attack. But, if you're able to protect it, every swing that's a fresh card that helps with your whole issue, the whole issue blue purple has um, of its card draw. This is huge. This is essentially killing blue purple. Um, and then they did talk otherly about like what is a basic 2/2. And if I'm recording this right, you could see essentially say anything that's a level 2, one cost, 2 attack, 2 AP, 2 AP, 2 HP, no abilities. It is just a standard body. And they are limiting them, which I think is kind of I I think that's I don't know if that's good or not. I'm not sure how I feel about the whole banned and restricted list. I understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but I don't know how I feel about it. A, because I do play blue purple among client and Neo Xeon, but this feels more reactionary to everybody's complaining than anything, and that's kind of something I want to get into after I wanted to get into after looking at all this. Um, this real quick. A combination of cards that matches the above description, a unit card that is level 2, 1 cost, 2 AP, no effects, are banned as pairs. So if you go on their the Twitter and you see basically the example they had is you can have 4 Zaku 2s, but you can't have 2 Zaku 2s and 2 Zaku Mariners. You can have 4 Zaku Mariners, or you can have 4 Zaku 2s. You can have 4 Zaku 2s, or you can have 4 uh, you know, anything else. You can't mix and match. So it's either all or nothing. So you can't do 3 and 3. You can't do 2, 2, 2. You can't do that. Which is this is super heavy aggro, like anti-aggro. This is super anti-aggro, which I think is kind of a letdown because I can understand why aggro is upsetting and why aggro can be annoying. I don't think aggro is as detrimental as people tend to believe it is. I think what it is that with the best of one format, if you're playing something that needs a little bit more setup, like League Militaire Norn, blue white Banshee Norn, League Militaire red white Destiny, or red white blockers, red white any basically anything that's not 1 Year War or blurple. um, the game has a consistency issue. You have to be able to set up to pull off these combos to do certain things. 1 Year War and Blue Purple Rush, aggro decks just in general, they don't need that. Do you have 2 resources? You do. Do you have 2 1-drops? I do. Play them both. There you go. Have resource, play card, swing for shield or swing for shields. It's hard to beat decks that are most consistent. But if you go and look at, everyone's like, oh, well, Blurple's winning. Blurple's, Blurple is a huge demographic. I think it was like 35% or something like that. I don't remember. But when you look at the tournaments, like who's winning, I think it was just the Kissimmee, Florida one. That was like Blurple doesn't win tournaments very often. They'll top, but that's because a shitload of people play it. So when you have a bunch of people playing a deck going to a tournament where, let's say, like a third of the people playing at at whatever level of tournament, NTC, regional, whatever, are playing Blurple or 1 Year War, just an aggro deck, yeah, it's going to be in there. It's going to top. Somebody's going to have a really good set of matchups where they're just able to top deck and they get what they need. But when you look at the winners, it's not aggro decks. I feel like this ban list and restricted list is in a response to the community being upset about how dominant aggro is in a best of one format. When it's best of one, when you only have one game versus when it's you and your opponent, you only have one game against them, the deck that is the most consistent is going to win the most amount of times. That's just how it is. So when you have decks like 1 Year War and Blue Purple that don't need big setups, they're going to take it. It's easy to play. And I also think on the other hand too, because it's so easy to play, most people I know that are firstly getting into the game start with an aggro deck. They start with Blue Purple Barbados Rush, or they go to 1 Year War because they are easy to play. You don't have to set up so much. So now you are essentially taking out a easy entry point for new people to play the game. Um, there was that survey that went off. It was like 1,000 players. Most people have been playing since GDO 1, which isn't a good thing because that means most people that took the survey have been playing since it came out. So you could make the argument that most people playing the game right now are not new players. They've been around, which kind of plays into why I believe this is just a reaction to community outrage who remember GDO 1, GDO 2, GDO 3, and into GDO 4, the kind of rise of Blue Purple and how dominant it was. Mostly because not everybody could get a hold of starter decks. So people who didn't have access to Amara Ray and Grandpa and most of the most of the blue cards that were in the starter deck, they're getting washed with it. And I understand that. If you're playing the game, if you're playing against somebody and they beat you by turn 5, you don't want to play anymore. You don't want to play against that. If every time you go to your locals and you know that there's like one or two aggro deck players, 1 Year War or blue purple, and they consistently are just beating you every time, you're not going to want to play that anymore. So instead of saying, hey, what can we do to address this issue? It's let's just get rid of it. There are already so many anti-aggro tools in the game with command cards, with blockers, just removal tools in general. I do not think they needed to be this heavy-handed with the bans and restrictions. This was, in my opinion, directly targeted at aggro. And I don't think that's a good thing because you need aggro decks to keep everything else in check. Because now I was making a joke with my group chat for my locals. Nothing's going to happen in games now. If there's no aggro decks, it's going to be stalemates until turn 5 of everybody just playing blockers. Boards are going to be just blocker, blocker, blocker until somebody finally gets an ale strike with Kira and they can bounce one back, swing into one, and drop the Elfriths to attack to 0. I feel it being this heavy-handed into the aggro meta, leaning into this anti-aggro meta, I think it's a bad thing. Um, I feel like they should have pulled it back a little bit. Uh, I feel like they should have addressed kind of blocker slop decks a little bit more. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of control. There's a lot of gadgets in a control box that allow you to do well against aggro because really you just have to last 3 turns with aggro. And that's just blockers, improved technique, close combat, anything that's got removal, and you're solid. Because after turn 5 or 6, they can't stabilize. They're going to run out of cards before you do. And eventually you're going to have the bigger bodies that they just can't take out. So I I don't know how I feel about this. I can understand why it's come down the pipeline, but I don't think this is what anybody thought was real. Like, I don't think the ban list and restricted list in its entirety is what everybody thought it was going to be. I think this is a huge hammer blow to the knees of aggro, and I feel like they're essentially taking out aggro at the knees, so to speak, to address people being upset about the effectiveness of blue purple of 1 Year War, and that's it. The only other thing I could possibly think of is that there's something in GDO 5 that we haven't seen yet, or whatever, that would tune up aggro much worse. But based on what we've seen, that doesn't look like the case. So I just wanted to talk about this. It's my first YouTube video, so please be kind. Uh, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about all this because I don't know how to feel about this restricted ban list. I don't know if I should be upset about it. I don't know if I should be like, okay, yeah, this is what if I don't know if I feel that this is what the game needed. But thanks for watching. Have a great day.